Spring podcast. My name is Tonya, and I'm back sooner than maybe anyone expected. I'm really glad to be back. A little over 2 weeks, I think, since I've recorded last. Maybe 3, I can't remember now. Maybe 2 weeks. Let's get started with introduction stuff. I am Cheekiemunkie on Ravelry, Cheekiemunkie1 on Instagram, Tonya on Goodreads. Show notes are tonyamorrison.wordpress.com, and email is tm.artfullife@gmail.com. Okay, I'm starting to get back in the swing of things a little bit, so let's start with, okay, I had to go through. I made show notes of them on my iPad over here. First thing before I get into the knitting, I wanted to say thank you to everybody who's reached out, said they're glad I'm podcasting again. That's really great to hear, and I really appreciate all of your comments, you watching, etc., and hanging out with me. Let's start. The first thing I want to start with is they're old finished objects, but the reason I want to talk about them is that I want to make sure this is the right side. Yeah, they're ReDyes. I'll put a picture in of of a picture of what they look like right after I knitted them. But for me, the way the yarn knitted up, I like the colors, but they just knitted up too busily for me. And so what I did was I took ReDyed and overdyed them. So this is the first one. This was the mauve sweater. It's hard to see because I dyed it so black, but you can see a big difference. It really, for me, calmed down the color and the pattern that the yarn was making. So it turned into this sort of muted, it looks like it's black, but I think it's more like a purple that's so dark it looks black. The way I mixed the colors I used for this, I put this in, you can look up online, I'll put the link in, that I used to overdye my wool with, and this is the second time I've done it. I used ReDyed, I used Pearl 10, the liquid, and then for this dye, I also used, I was experimenting, and I used the wine color, I believe. It'll be in the show notes. The wine color and a dark green, and mixing all that together gave me this really dark purpley color. I used paper towels to dip in to make sure that it wasn't going to be a color I didn't like, and it came out pretty dark purple, and I thought that would be okay because I like wearing dark purple, and it turned out way better than I could have hoped for. And you can sort of see on screen, it's sort of showing you, you don't see it in real life, but the way that the contrast is coming out on the computer, you can see all the striping that was doing with the old yarn, and you have seen it in the picture. And to me, this is way more wearable than it would have been before. So really, really happy with that. And for me, dark colors always work. The second one's a little lighter. I made a tunic out of this one. This was the party top. And I did 2. This is just with the Pearl 10 dyed over twice. And you'll have seen, I'll put in a picture of this top, and you'll have seen before, it was just too on the warm side for me. I am not a warm color person. I am a cool color person. So this definitely cooled that down. And all of the speckles and stuff show up way more in the photo than they do on the video than they do in real life. But this turned out, for me, beautifully. The garment's a little large on me, but that's okay. I'm okay with a large garment, but the dye job just turned out beautifully. I can still see all the speckles in here, but it just cooled down the color so that it is something that is more comfortable for me to wear. This one was, I finished my Pure Joy shawl by Hohi Locatelli. And I added, the pattern doesn't call for a picot edge, but I added a picot edge. I had a ton of yarn, and I like doing a picot edge. I know a lot of people don't like doing that, so, but I did. And I added beads on it. Oops, I'm sorry, I'm trying to see if you can see. There we go. The beads. Maybe you can see and maybe you can't. The yarn is this golden color, is Sweet Sparrow on our magpie base in the Miss Honey colorway, and then these eyelet sections in the end is Chelsea Luxe in the rose gold colorway on the single space. And I really love knitting this. This really was pure joy to knit. It was perfect for this time. It was took me a little bit longer than typical to knit one of these up. As I said before, it's hard for me to really focus right now. Now it's getting more to the monotony of being in my apartment every day. I'll get into that at the end, but I really enjoyed this. This hasn't been blocked yet. That's the other thing about being home all the time, is normally I will block something the night before, and depending on the garment or the accessory, it can take anywhere, and it depends on much humidity. It can get really humid here, depending on the time of the year. Can take a day, and this really needs to be blocked out. Pins, I really want all the picots to come out at points. So to set that up in my apartment right now is just not doable. If I was going to work or leaving, I could sort of put it down overnight, scoot around it in the morning, and then come home that night and be able to take it up and not have a problem with it. But I'm not sure, and I'm not gonna, it was 70 degrees in New York City today, so this will not be a problem if I don't block this right away. The next finished object I want to show is, technically it's finished. I finished it maybe back in February now. It's the Caroline tee. It's relatively simple. It's just got a big ribbed bottom, and this is a boat neck top. It's knit from the bottom up. This is supposed to be knit in pieces, but what I did was I knit in the round all the way up to the arms, and then once I got to the arms, I switched to working on the back and then working on the front. This doesn't really have a back or front that are identical, so there really isn't. The reason it's not finished is because I picked up the sleeve wrong, and you can see, if I hang it maybe, you can see it's turned into a ruffle, and it's not supposed to do that. You can see on this side where I picked up correctly, it doesn't. So it's been blocked and everything, but I've been ripping it out, and I just haven't had more like the will, not exactly the time, but more like the will to rework this. I'll probably feel more like working on it and repairing it once I get one of these other sweaters done. I just couldn't do it right after finishing this sweater. But this was the Caroline tee by Rosemary Drysdale. Simple tee. It's a Stacy tacky pattern. I found it, the sample I originally saw was at Webb's, and they want you to wear it reverse stockinette. I'm not a fan of reverse stockinette, so mine will just be regular stockinette, and it's a beautiful color. It's showing up more red. It's more purple in person, but it's a red purple, so that's why the red's showing up more on screen. And the yarn was a huge surprise. I got a really great deal on this when I was at Webb's last last November for the New England Fiber Festival. I went up there with Kristen from Vine, Gabby from Once Upon a Corgi, and Nina from This Old Knit podcast. And we had the absolute best weekend. We had so much fun. And Kristen and I went to Webb's. And this yarn is Cascade yarn. The base is Roslyn. And the color is number 22 wine. The fibers, which make this really nice, is, I think it was like 65% wool, 35% silk. And I love silk and wool together. I love those two fibers together. And sorry, here's my little ball that I'm rounding up. Okay, for today, that's all my finished objects. I think, did I finish anything else? I'll have to look and see if I finished anything else, and I'll show those. I'm trying to show finished objects a little bit by little as we go along. First thing, okay, so I have I've made a bit of progress. I was trying to get the Pure Joy shawl done, so I've made decent progress. The red teacup is where I was when we podcasted last, so not much difference. And again, on screen this looks much more purple than it really is, and it's coming out more variegated than it really is. It's much more subtle, but still looks pretty. And I love this. It's the party top. I have, let's see, from there, I think I'm going to go to 9 inches. So I am at 6 inches after the underarm, maybe 7 now. And so I have 2 or 3 more inches before I start the ribbing. And that is being knit out of Western Sky Knits Black and Violet. And I went down a needle size to a US 5 on DK yarn. I have a very loose gauge with my knitting. Okay, next sweater. I didn't show this last week, but it's another sweater on my needles, and I am trying to get to the underarms. So this is what I will be focusing on in the next, along with the party top by Abbye Knits, is this. This one's hard. It's wanting to tangle. Okay, this is the Girl in the World sweater by Blue Sky Alpaca. I'm at the, you can see all the way at the top. It's not really much to see, but I am, let's see here, if I can show this maybe a little bit better. But it's the Girl in the World sweater. This will be a long sleeve sweater. It's a fingering weight sweater. I am knitting this out of Hedgehog Fibers sock in the graphite colorway. So I try to knit one black sweater a year just because I can honestly say I absolutely love black sweaters and they get the most wear. The one that I re-dyed recently, I can see that's going to get a lot of wear because it's nice and dark, and it'll just go with what I'm wearing. And I'm knitting that sweater on US 3 needles. Okay, I'm sort of making my way through here today. I feel like I'm rushing today for some reason. Not sure why. Okay, and I've cast on the Canopy Shawl by Melody Hoffman, and I am knitting this out of Madeline Tosh Sport in the Dahlia colorway. And let's see if you can see some of the, I don't know if you can see that. There's some of the lace that's coming through. I think I have a picture here. I don't always have a printed out pattern, but I think most of you have seen this pattern before. or have knitted. So I'm in that section that's right across her bust line right now. That's the section I'm in right now. And I really like it. I like that. I really love lace knitting. I like that. Besides going back and forth, some people like color work knitting. Some people like cables. I love lace. I love lace knitting. I don't know what it is. I am by no means a cable knitter. I don't mind color work. I don't mind doing color work, but it's definitely second to lace knitting for me. I love knitting lace. And this is on US 8 needles. Okay. And that is actually just sitting in this, I had pillowcases. Came in this little bag, so I kept it. I made it a project bag, and that's what the pillowcases look like. I have, I showed you my crochet blanket the last time. I've put maybe 3 rows on that, so I really haven't been keeping up with my row a day, but maybe 4 rows, but definitely not more than 4 rows. I am working on, I thought I'd show you my niece's mitered square blanket. I've already finished a mitered square blanket for myself, but I'm making one for my niece and nephew. And I'm doing decent on the ends. I have about half of the, sorry, keep dropping it, half of the ends woven in. So the first row, the bottom row is the first row that I started. I can't see you, so I'm just sort of going back and forth so you can see it. And I want to do 99 squares. So I'm about 25% of the way done. I have a chart that tells me how far I am done. So I have 3 rows of 11 done. So 33 squares done. I don't remember now. I've been working on this, slowly putting on squares on this for probably 2 years now. So you can see I'm not getting very far. I work on this occasionally. The one I'm working on right now is, I think this was, I know the color was Koi. I got this from Knit Picks, and I made a pair of socks out of this. I really love this color. I wear these socks all the time. Blue and orange. Socks, really I'm not that particular, except I don't like white as the background for my socks. Other than that, I'm not picky on colors for socks. I think that's kind of a way where I can use any kind of color. I can get out of my comfort zone on that. I can knit up self-striping, I can knit up micro stripes, I can knit up sparkle socks if they flash, if they pull. For me, it doesn't matter for socks. And I never knit past, I always stop, if not at my ankle, then right above my ankle bone. I never knit socks higher than that. Unless they're knee socks or ankle socks, I won't wear anything in between. I'll never wear them. If I buy a pair of socks and they don't fall where I want, then I just immediately put it in Goodwill or ask somebody if they want the socks, because I'll never wear them. And I can say I'm not a big sock knitter. It's not my favorite thing to knit. Sweaters are my favorite thing to knit, but I love owning and having hand knit socks. That's what keeps me going. I love wearing them. They by far, as you know, all of you knitters, I'm sort of preaching to the choir here, know that there's nothing like a wool sock. There just absolutely isn't. I probably told this on a podcast way back when, but I was in a rainstorm and I was wearing sort of clog with no back, Birkenstocks, and even though my feet were wet and it was a cold night, my feet were still warm in those wool socks. So they're just amazing. They're just absolutely amazing. And I think that is everything that's everything for the knitting. Well, 20 minutes I do. And then the next thing I guess I'll talk to you about is the books I'm reading. I just finished, I just finished yesterday reading, or rather, pardon me, excuse me, listening to was Twisted 26 by Janet Ivanovich. Definitely her earlier books are more exciting, but they still make me laugh. They're still really enjoyable, especially Lula's comments. And if you read those books, they're really funny. And there's, it's not something too serious or something that you have to really worry about. And it honestly brightened my day yesterday, or the day before. I can't remember. It was either yesterday or the day before. I was listening to it while I was at work, and I just laughed the whole day. And it's only like a 6, maybe 7 hour listen, and I just had a good time listening. And it seems like the next book is going to be a little bit different. Maybe, we'll see. So if you've listened to it or read it, I'm sure you've enjoyed it. Like I have all the other ones, there's comments out about those, but I just had a good time listening to it. What I'm reading now is, I think, still on Venetian Betrayal, that I was reading the last time, by Steve Barry. I have about 2 hours left of that. The reason I haven't been reading that super fast is you have to concentrate way more on that. It's much more complicated plot. It's a lot of moving parts. It's a more intellectual book. There's a lot more about world philosophies, history, more technical stuff that happens in there. So it's a much more complicated book. I wouldn't put it on the level of Franz Kafka's Metamorphosis or anything, but it's still something you have to pay attention to. You have to know what's going on. And then I also am reading Vampire's Kiss by Ella Summers. I have never read anything by her before. It was part of my Audible Escapes subscription, and I really like that subscription. It's $7 a month, and I'm always finding something in there. There's a couple of books I found I would have never, I don't think, found without that subscription. It's not Danica Dark. It's the Immortal Guardian series. I talk about this series all the time, and I love that series. I really love that series. So I wouldn't have been able to find that series without that subscription. The things that I have coming up that I want to be reading, I just got The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides from the library. So as soon as I finish Venetian Betrayal, which I have from the library, I'm going to start The Silent Patient, and then I'll read another Steve Barry book, because I have that also in my library, The Charlemagne Pursuit. So that'll be book 4 in the Cotton Malone series. Okay, so TV really hasn't been, there's been nothing new. I know there's tons of series out there. I really want to watch the Ozark series. I honestly just haven't been in the mood for much TV lately. I've been rewatching the Dexter series. I own it, so I'm rewatching the Dexter series. I'll occasionally put on Criminal Minds from Netflix. I've watched the Good Witch series. It's a Hallmark series. And then I've watched the Hobbit trilogy and the Matrix trilogy. That's sort of been it for the past 2 or 3 weeks that I've sort of watched. And then the Hobbit, I thought they did a really good job with the Hobbit book, movie. It's been 25 years since I've read the Hobbit. For me, I read all those books. Was in the 90s sometimes, so it had to be 25 years ago. 25, maybe 27 years ago now. I've read those books. I read The Hobbit first, and then I read the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Some of you may be shocked and disagree and send me hate mail, but I like The Hobbit better. I just really, maybe because it was the first Tolkien book I read, but I just adore that novel. I love The Hobbit. I love the things that happen in it. And this was the first time I saw the Hobbit movie, the trilogy. I didn't see them in the movies or anything. I don't go to the movie theater that often anymore. But so the Hobbit, one of them was on sale for like $3 or something on Prime, and then the other ones were maybe $7. So I just bought the movie trilogy for what, not even $20. So got to see the whole trilogy for less than what it would cost you to go to see one movie here in New York City. But that's about it. And it was fun too. And then I don't think I've seen the Matrix trilogy, not that I didn't like it, but it's probably been 10 years since I've seen any of those movies. Definitely 2. I might not even seen 2 and 3 since they came out in the movies. So that's definitely been 20 years since those books came, those 2 movies, the last 2 movies came out. And then I probably owned the Matrix on DVD, but I haven't had a DVD player in I don't know how long. So it was on Netflix, so I watched them. And then cooking, I've been cooking here and there, keeping busy. I don't mind cooking. It's just that every meal is at home. I know maybe not everybody eats out as often as I do, but I ate out at lunch every day. And so not like ate out like at a fancy restaurant, but I went and would go either get takeout or a sandwich. And so I had a little bit more variety. Not that it's not like I mind leftovers, and I like having leftovers because it's less cooking I've got to do, and I'm a good cook. I cook really well. It's just, I don't know, it's starting to get old. I'm in day 50, what did I write? I'm in day 54 of staying safe at home. So this is the most, probably my entire life. My family used to eat out quite a bit growing up. Not every day, but a couple times a week we go out to dinner. And so I think this is the longest stretch I've ever gone in my entire life where I've ate at home every single day. I really miss going out to restaurants at least. And I mean, it's not like I even went out to dinner that often, but at least a couple times a month. And it's been 3 months, maybe, since I've had a meal out. Well, not 3 months since, but maybe 2.5 months since I've had dinner out. And I know I can order takeout and everything, but it's not exactly the same. And I don't know. I'd rather honestly cook at home than do takeout. It's just, I can make better burgers here. And, but sometimes I used not to cook, but it's a juggling act, budget and stuff. And I'm trying to not spend a lot of money on unnecessary things. So it's not so bad, but it's kind of getting old for me to be cooking at home all the time. I know that is a luxury that I have, and I don't have children, so I don't have to put a meal on the table every day. And I know that's not the same for everybody who's watching this, and I know I'm whining about something that I'm very privileged to get to do, to eat out as much as I do. So, but for my daily routine, it's been an adjustment. Life stuff, I'm on day 53 of staying safe at home here in New York City. On Friday and Saturdays, actually kind of in the neighborhood I live in, I can hear the cheer for the first responders, medical workers at 7 o'clock, which is really fun to hear every night. I can hear the air horns. There's a couple people who blow air horns, which is always fun to hear. It's in the distance for me, so it's not like it's right next to me, so it's fun to hear that and hear the cheer with everybody going on. Trying to keep my apartment tidy has been, you would think being home all the time, it would be easy to keep your apartment super tidy. And it's not so bad doing the, like, sweeping up, like with a broom or run. I just have a hand vacuum because I have hardwood floors, and I just have a little area rug here that I'm sitting on. So, and it just sort of dust busts up any sort of crumbs if I sweep up with the broom. But I don't know. It's harder to keep my apartment tidy being here 24/7 than it is when I have to work outside. I guess because when you're not here, you're not here. When I'm not here, there's nobody messing around. But now that I'm here and I'm always into something or doing something, or I guess I can say leave it till later, it's been kind of annoying. I'll say that right now. But I mean, it's not terrible. I mean, I only have like 350 square feet, but also being in a small space, I can't just throw all the junk in a room and like close the door and pretend like everything else is neat and I can just throw something in there. So that's been hard, and really nothing else. Working from home, I worked from home the whole month of April. I can't say I miss being at the office. Working from home is definitely conducive to my personality type, but I miss my desk setup at work. I had a much bigger desk. I have a much larger desk at work. I have 2 screens at work. I have my drawing pad at work. I use, I don't know if you've ever seen, but they're called tablets. Yeah, mine's fairly large. Mine's probably 18 inches by 9 or 12 inches. It's a big one. And what you do is you use this pen. It has a nib on it that's plastic, and you draw with it, and that translates directly into the computer screen. And it's not a mouse. For me, drawing with a mouse is like drawing with a brick. It is so hard. And I really miss my tablet, and I can't really go back and do anything about it, and I didn't plan when all this happened, and I'm not sure if my desk would accommodate my tablet really either. So my desk at home for me to work at was only meant for, you know, occasionally messing around in Photoshop or something like that, or it's just, I do miss my desk at work. I don't necessarily miss everybody around and all the noise around me at work, but I miss my desk setup. That I miss. And then I miss my desk chair at work. I have a decent desk chair at work. So I miss those 2 things. So working from home, while the atmosphere is nice, it's, I don't have the equipment for long-term use. You know, working from home for me is, maybe I have somebody coming in to do plumbing or something in my apartment. I have to work home from a day. Working home for a day from my apartment is no big deal at all. I can do it for a day, but I'm going on week 8 or 9, and I have to do some complicated drawing. I do a lot of architectural visualizations and renderings and graphics work and stuff like that, and it gets hard to do. It takes me a little bit longer than it normally would at work because I can't work as fast because I don't have my right equipment. And I think that's about it for me. I was trying to think if I had forgotten or remembered anything. That's everything I'm going to say for that. And I think I'm going to end my podcast here today. I just want to say happy knitting, stay safe, and I hopefully will be back in a couple of weeks again. Bye.